I'd remembered the other thing I wanted to touch on, and that's for these aquatic species. There's a lot of people out there that are using an overabundance of shrimp and krill, feeder fish, things like this. And I've run into a few people over the years who have used that to excess, where it's almost an exclusive food because they're reptile, and not just turtle, but I've had people that have had amphibians too. They just use that almost exclusively because the animal loves it and has gotten used to it or whatever. And that's all these people are concerned with, is that the animal is eating it continually, eating it good. It may not seem to like other things, so it's easy, so they throw it in there, and less maintenance or worry for them, and they leave it at that. But one of the bad things about a lot of those the crustaceans and some of the feeder fish is something called thiaminase, and you can look this up. Thiaminase, and the ending of the word, the suffix indicates that it breaks down whatever the prefix of the word is. Like, for example, protease breaks down proteins. That's a pancreatic enzyme. Lipase breaks down fatty tissue. The thiaminase breaks down thiamine. And thiamine is actually what is otherwise known as vitamin B1. These feeder crustaceans and some of the feeder fish, not all of them, but some of them, like the rosy minnows, for example, contain higher amounts of thiaminase. And it's okay to use those as a treat here and there, but if you use that too much, like as a staple item, the amount of thiaminase in it can lead to a rather serious situation of thiamine deficiency in your reptile that really mimics toxicity, poisoning. And in a lot of cases, that's what I've had people inquire with me, what's wrong with their turtle or amphibian. It's pretty listless, and they in several cases they've taken it to the vet. The vet doesn't know what's wrong. In a lot of cases, a vet not having reptile husbandry experience, and this is a major reason why, yes, the $30 consult fee was absolutely worth more than the money I was asking for it, is because most reptile or most veterinarians do not have the reptile husbandry experience to know what freaking proper questions to ask about your husbandry to begin with. That's how come I can out-diagnose them. I can do it from long range. I can do it with pictures, video, what have you. 99% of the veterinarians out there, I can best them when it comes to differential diagnoses of reptiles. And I clean up after veterinarians things that they miss all the time. And this is one of those situations that has happened quite a few times. And so the veterinarian thinks that the animal may be poisoned or something like that, or there, in a lot of cases they're not really sure. And one of the first things I do is inquire about your lighting, your temperatures, and everything like that. Whether you're using, if it's aquatic species, I'll ask if you're using filtration, but a big one is what kind of lighting you're using, the brand, the wattage, all that kind of stuff. So this gets into real in-depth. I want to know about everything. And and the diet is part of that, specifically the diet. And then when these people would tell me, well, I'm feeding them brine shrimp or krill or feeder fish like every day or like several times a day, before I go to work and when I get home and all that. And so, boom, I center on that. I know where my my diagnosis is going. And so every time this has happened, I'll tell the person discontinue whatever that crustacean or feeder fish they were using, because it's probably Thiaminase toxicity, otherwise known as hypovitaminosis B1 or thiamine deficiency. And I'd tell them to go to the vet and get your pet some vitamin B shots, and resolve the situation. So that's one of the aspects where if you don't have the husbandry as well as the medical knowledge, you're not going to make a very good veterinarian as far as reptiles are concerned. And that's why a lot of your veterinarians out there, your generalized veterinarians that don't have the reptile husbandry experience and don't know about these things like the thiaminase content of a lot of these feeders, they just aren't familiar enough to know what questions are relevant to ask. And just being quite honest with you, I'm confident about this when I say it, that's what makes me better at diagnosing than most of your veterinarians out there. Because if you don't know what the proper husbandry is, you're not even going to have a starting point to know what's a good question to ask your client in order to get to the bottom of what the hell's wrong with their animal. So yeah, remember that one too. Go easy on your shrimp, krill, and feeder fish that have higher thiaminase content. And there are websites out there, if you search for this, that can tell you more about that.